Today has been a hullabaloo of thoughts, experiences, and processes. And it's happened to the backdrop of the first spring like weather of the year. I guess the categories of processes involved in this are: what do you find beneath the ice after winter melts? I saw a post that linked to a newspaper article a couple of weeks ago, and it was about the catastrophe of the swans. Apparently, as things were starting to thaw out from our 2 months of below sub zero temperatures, some of the casualties are the swans. I guess they got stuck to the ice and froze to death, and then as they thawed, their gruesome, disfigured corpses came above ground. And the author was talking about how in years past, when they first arrived in Berlin, it was a relatively clean city. I remember those days. The author was also mentioning how the grit that they put on the ground to help cars and humans and bikes and motorcycles not slide all over the place used to get cleaned up. And instead, you see these mountains of gray snow as kind of the aftermath of winter. And these swans, these dead swans in the canals, were just a tragic symbol of that. And so I'm thinking about my aftermath of winter. My aftermath of winter, if indeed this is actually the aftermath of winter, is that as things thaw out, the things that are going to be revealed are: how do I deal with the situation with my shipping containers and their theft? What is it that I'm meant to do to help move this situation forward when there's a sense of calm, when it's frozen outside and, the Wagenplatz is possibly one of the most uncomfortable places to be living in winter. These wagons, caravans that a lot of people live in there, they're not properly insulated. They might have a wood stove, but it's the kind of situation where you're sitting around inside and your coat, scarf, hat, and gloves, depending on the elevation of the situation. I guess one of the things that's happened with the theft of my shipping containers and the theft of my building materials is that, well, all of the windows are gone from inside one of the shipping containers. And so I assume that that's part of the process of them hoping to turn it into a dwelling as it's already insulated. God, that's depressing. Like all of my hard work, all of my labor, thousands of hours of volunteer hours, several years of my life went into all of that material. And the final chapter of getting it insulated and putting interior walls in, putting a floor down, insulating under the floor, is now in the hands of people who are working actively to, yeah, to destroy that, to take it on. It really breaks my heart. I mean, any kind of theft feels like a violation. It's like somebody walks into your space and they break in. It feels like a violation. But this is a violation that I can walk past all the time and see the doors hanging open because they can't figure out how to shut them. And so that's causing damage. That's getting rodents inside and all manner of other things. And I put so much love into them, so many dreams. There's a conversation that's going viral at the moment um, about older women who want our autonomy. And we don't buy into these ideas of, that you need a 4 bedroom house, etc. We're ones that just want to get on with living in supportive communities of our choosing, not to be stuck with whatever kind of care options come up in an institutional sense, to not be stuck with whatever retirement plans or social security systems exist. And we already know they're really not existing. When you look at the devastation of certain cities, certain industrial cities before things went offshore, the reason people migrated from all over the country, from the agrarian South to the central Midwestern areas of the country to the northeastern seaboard, were factories and industrialization jobs. When all of those left in their wake, we got devastation, the ghettoification of communities that, from the perspective of young people's living there, they would have to wonder, why would you ever have moved here? But the reason is because it was the land of milk and honey. These factory jobs paid really well. They created communities, they created infrastructures, schools, all of these other things in association. And with all of those gone, it waylays to poor educational systems, lack of infrastructure, and cities that were once profitable becoming like number 300 in the list of 300 worst cities to live in America. Kind of parallel to this is the problem of cost of living being so insane and prohibitive. If you don't have generational wealth to rely on, what do you then do when you have a financial situation? What do you then do so that your financial situation doesn't leave you homeless? What do you really need, want, and crave when you think about your life in terms of how to stay safe and well and strong? I mean, do you need to be skinny? I don't think so. Do you need to have whatever types of curves are marketable at the moment? I doubt it. Does your wardrobe need to change palettes because of the color of the year or some stupid sky dancer that just glorifies whiteness? No, you don't. And so when women in our 50s and 60s are asked what it is we want and what it is that we want our autonomy and our independence, and we don't care about going shopping every 3 weeks. We don't care about brunches and cocktails and cafes. We care about community, autonomy, independence, self sufficiency. And so movements like the tiny house movement are really beneficial for women like myself because it lets us go from having been in the carer roles that many of us spent decades of our lives in to how do we look after ourselves? Who's going to help us carry water and who are we going to carry water for? And my shipping containers represented that. They represented that freedom long before I began working on these in my late 40s, the end of my 40s. They were something that I'd been aspiring to my whole life because, for whatever reason, I valued spending time with my kids, creating opportunities for them over my career in my younger years. And then when I had relationship breakdowns in America, I valued keeping my kids safe and making sure to take them places where they could be well educated. And that's what brought us to Europe. It was hiding in plain sight, but also in educational systems that weren't riddled by violence. They were still riddled by postcodes in many instances, but they were reliable enough that you didn't really have to care which postcode. My kids went to excellent schools, public schools, sometimes scholarships for private schools. But those things that were such a hustle in New York of you need to be on this waiting list for that. And in the States, even Texas, which is supposed to be cheap, you need a couple of grand a month for rent or mortgage, and then you have to drive everywhere. So you need an expensive car, loads of money for gas. You're talking about 5 grand a month in expenses to be driving 2.5 hours a day, to have gross air, to not be able to grow your own food, and to not potentially legally live in a tiny house unless you owned the land or found some way around it. So after having burnt myself out quite severely, it was a welcome oasis to finally be creating a house that, okay, if I have to move, I can pick it up with a crane and take it. It's still the same house, it's still mine. After hundreds, more than 200 moves, sometimes in some years, I could move 4 times a month in the same city with the boys. And then afterwards, when I was making sure to have money for them to be studying and to have housing, God, I moved so much. I lived in the library fundamentally, just dozed, left, walked around, went back in. I mean, it was abject homelessness to provide for my children. The process, I really burnt myself out. So as the snow thaws, I feel like I'm one of those dead swans that no one has picked up. And instead of absolutely enjoying the beautiful weather and marveling at the welcome of spring, I'm dreading it because now it will be easier for the violation against me to continue because the weather will be good. It will be easy for the thieves to vilify me rather than just let me take my stuff. It's really unfortunate to be someone vulnerable, recovering from heart surgery, and to also be navigating the stress at the same time of the weather's changed. What do I do? What risks and chances do I take? And these risks and chances, they can impact my health in a deadly way. But something has to be done. So the city's not even cleaning up the grit from the snow and ice, and the dead swans are floating on the water. I'm Chandra. I'm making videos every day. Thanks for listening. See you soon.